Hi folks, Gavin Carr here, wanting to talk with you about vocal fatigue. Many of us are finding that online rehearsals and Zoom coachings and lessons bring on much more tiredness in the voice more quickly than face-to-face situations. I'm certainly finding that. I think probably we use 15 to 20% more vocal energy online, partly to do with where our laptops are or our devices are, and our feeling that we have to get our message across, whereas in reality those machines can pick up quiet talking like this. It's a psychological thing, and I'm certainly falling into that bit. Whatever the reasons, it is certainly more tiring doing online sessions. So here are some thoughts and techniques for countering the fatigue, allowing you to go on working with your voice, that I've picked up over the years. First thing to say is to remind you that the membrane surrounding the vocal folds rejuvenates itself every 36 hours or so, which is why complete vocal rest for 2 days can solve quite a number of minor problems in itself. Second thing is to remind you that when we're tired, the very edge of the vocal folds as they adduct becomes slightly, what should we say, swollen, not furred exactly, but they don't meet together along such a fine edge. And one of the things we seek to do with a couple of these exercises is to find a finer edge along which we can work. The best, by far the best and easiest thing I've always found is what we call puffy lips. It used to be called a decade ago puffy cheeks, now it's called puffy lips. And it is not, there's no horses involved here, it is not, there should be no trilling of the lips. It's very, very simple. So a small amount of air escapes through the mouth, nothing through the nose. There's a tiny amount of back pressure held in the cheeks. And that back pressure, I like to think of it sort of helps iron out the vocal folds. Of course, it's not quite that simple, but that's what it feels like to me. So we just use puffy lips on a very simple musical exercise, something like this. Very simple, no strenuousness here. Do 2 more. Really legato. That's as high as a baritone would want to go. That's A flat major, just with the start. Sopranos and tenors could go a little higher, just to start. And same thing again, but just adapting it to something that goes a little bit further in the register, in the range. I'll start on E flat again. Lots of swooping between notes, that can really help. The way you connect the notes, super legato. If you've got to think of it as a swoop, then do internal portamenti, really legato. That can really help, this sense of smoothing out the voice. Still very gentle. Very simple. So then if we take those 2 very simple exercises, it should almost feel like you're doing nothing, like you're just standing at the washing up bowl, doing your washing up. Indeed, it's the kind of thing you can do there. We will just open on to an oo vowel, for example. something I often use with my choirs at the very start of a rehearsal. It helps to calm things down, focus people's attention, center people in their voices on that very fine point of phonation that occurs just here. As you're working these exercises, and we'll do one more like that, it's important, very important, to feel that your air is connected, because of course one of the main sources of vocal fatigue is lack of good air support, lack of good support. So particularly when you're working at a desk or at a piano like I am here, it's very easy for us being sat down to lose contact with our muscular support systems that control the flow of air. So what I like to do is take my hands and put them on my side support junctions, which are above my hip bones, so on the flesh. Dig them in, 2 fingers in front, thumb at the back, like that. And that gives you a sort of girdle. And if you just make a shh kind of noise, you should feel both your fingers and your thumbs jumping. Shh, shh, shh. Try that again. Shh, shh, shh. Lovely view of my belly here. As you're sat down, it's perfectly possible to support perfectly adequately in rehearsal with a nice upright position, sat on the edge of your chair. Use your side support junction. Shh. If you don't feel your thumbs and your fingers slightly jumping, but when you're sat down, perhaps particularly your thumbs in the back, then you need to up your work level down here. One way to provoke that, of course, is just to do something easy. I'm not recommending this for vocal fatigue exercises, but just as an addendum, if you like. Ha ha! Hey hey! Hee hee! Those sort of jumps will get this system working, just like a cough will. But of course, a cough does that to your vocal folds. That's not very helpful when you're tired. So back to the exercises. Let's open onto an R now. We're going to use the second one, and we'll open onto an R on the third note. Very good. Just bear in mind when you open onto your R, you want to make sure that your focus, that vowel is focusing well and your focus is coming this way. Okay, you've got a nice sort of blade, as it were, to the sound, and your tongue is doing all the work with the R. Good. The only other exercise that I regularly use for vocal fatigue, and by the way, you can do what we've just done for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. You will feel better at the end of it. Yeah. When I was studying singing in San Francisco with my first teacher, Dixon Titus, in the 90s, early 90s, I became very close friends with a wonderful man called John Lawrence, Father John Lawrence, who had been a professional singer, indeed had his own NBC radio show in the 30s. Wonderful baritone. I got to know him when he was in his 90s. And at the age of 96, he still had the most mellifluous baritone voice. And every single day he did the following exercise, which is not a vocal exercise. It's to do with the chi, the energy of the flow of the chi energy through the body. And this exercise, it couldn't be simpler really. Take either hand, sticking your thumb out. Bring the other hand around it so that the hand that's around it, the fingers are against the inside edge of the thumb. And then with your nails, you're going to pulse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Up to, when I started off in my life doing this, up to 60, but now I do it up to 100. When you're sat watching TV, when you're in the tube, when you're in the garden with your gin and tonic by your side, before you've got an online rehearsal, anything like that, and do it in both hands. Okay, so just bring the thumb around. 100 times, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes. All I can say is that Father John Lawrence still had the most marvelous baritone voice at the age of 96, and I really do find this aids vocal recovery. When I think of contracts I've had where I've been under duress, like singing the baritone solos in Carmina Burana 13 times in 11 days with Ex Cathedra back in the 90s, 13 times in 11 days. I lived like a monk, and I did this almost constantly. It really, really did help my vocal recovery. So it's a little thing, my gift to you, Father John Lawrence's exercise. It's just something you can fall into the habit of doing, and the empirical evidence in my life is strong. There we are. There's a couple of thoughts and things for you to look at, and I wish you wonderful singing and a continuing joy in your music.